Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Harris-Elmore and Genoa Library podcast with me, Ariel, and guest Mr. Jennifer.
Hello.
Sierra could not be here this month, so Jen has offered to jump in for her so we can still have a podcast, so you don't have to listen to just me chit-chat the whole time. And have
As fun as
some
that would
fun.
be.
It could be interesting. So we have some different things that we're going to do with Jen today, since we are in April, which is hard to believe. It's spring, it's warm, well, getting warm, rain, mud, get to be outside more, which is great. Maybe open up some windows, let some fresh air in. Do you
It's
open
nice
your windows?
today. I was so happy about this. And even though the time change is a bear, I like to see it lighter.
Yes, yeah, it makes a big difference, I think, for sure. You can definitely tell. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, hit my laptop. Yeah, it just brings a whole different feeling overall. And so we had a hard time deciding what to talk about for April, because everybody's kind of getting out of their slump of winter, maybe watching movies, reading books. So we thought it'd be interesting to talk about which was better, the book or the movie. And so Jen and I have compiled a list of book to movie. So we probably will not go through all of them because it is quite a long list.
Yeah, and I have a habit of watching the movies and not reading the books. And I often do it in the wrong order too. Like I'll watch the movie and it makes me want to read the book. I know a lot of people read the book and then they watch the movie. That's probably how you should do it.
Yeah, I always find out when I do that, though, I get upset because I'm like, that didn't happen in the book. That character didn't even exist in the book.
Well, I don't even know what's better, because if you read the book first and then you have like a preconceived idea of what you think it should be, like the characters, how they're supposed to be, and then when you watch the movie, you're like, oh, well, I didn't. That's not really how I envisioned it, and then you get all mad and stuff like that. But if you watch the movie first, and then you already have these characters, and you love those characters that you've seen as the actors, and then you read the book, and then you're just imagining them as that, and then you don't get upset.
Honestly, and I think that's like kind of the big question is like, what do you read first? But like, I've done movies where I've watched movies and then I found out years later that they were a book, and then I was like, what? Mm-hmm. So then I read the book and then I'm like, the movie was better even though the book was first. Like, it all depends on if you know that it exists. Do you prefer to read it, like you said, in a specific order? And depending on what you like, it could totally construe whether you like the movie or the book.
Right. Hard to do. But.
Yeah, I know. I watched Practical Magic, which, granted, it was a 1998 film, so I didn't know it was a book back then. And the book was not nearly as good as the movie. Really? I mean, but that was kind of my opinion, just because like Sandra Bullock was there. We love Miss Sandra. And so like her sister was totally like different, just in the way like her mannerisms were, but she was still kind of flighty like she was in the book. But there were so many, like, I don't want to say details, but it was almost like too many details that it kind of like left your mind not to wander, or like, oh, what happened if this happened? And then like the author wrote 2-3 more books after that, and it's going backwards in time. So like starts with the two girls, then it goes to like their aunts, and then her aunt's parents, and then the witch who started it all. And it just,
wow, they didn't include any of that in the movie.
None. What they kind of like reference the original witch where she like was pregnant and she started her own house. Yeah, but like they don't that's all they said. And that's how the curse was started. I was like, oh, okay. And then you learn about like, it's just so bizarre. And I don't know. I guess I'm just partial because I think the movie's more exciting than the book. even though I still enjoyed the book, I just think I've watched the movie too many times to change my mind.
Do you think that if not having read the book, but you watched the movie like you did, and they did it like the book, and it obviously would have been longer to include all those details and things like that. Can you imagine how movies would be if they included all book details and things like that? It would just be crazy. I mean, I don't know, it might be okay if you were like really devoted to it or something. You're like, have you ever binged a series and you're just like, I want more and more, and it doesn't matter how much they content they give you, you're just suck it up, you know. And
Yeah.
so it just depends. But if they included all that stuff in the movie originally, do you think you would have still liked it better or liked it?
Probably not.
So they made good choices.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's for the better, but, like, I know, like, when you're talking about some series like Outlander, people love that series, and those books are, like, chunky
Hmm.
books, and people just eat them up, and they love
Yeah.
them, and you could have, like, scripts and screenplays for days,
Oh, that's
years
what they
even.
that's what they did. I mean, I read the first, I think, 5 books, and they are on the 6th season of Outlander right now, so they have surpassed what I have read. And let me tell you, out of anything I've ever watched and read, they're probably the most spot on. There are whole scenes of dialogue just directly from the book,
Wow.
and like the first couple seasons and things like that. Because I'm just like, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember this, and they just take everything, um, and they just put everything, and it was awesome. I think part of it is because the author Diana, is it Gabaldon or I always used to say Gabaldon, but I'm almost positive that's wrong.
I
Gabaldon, I think it is.
I think that's the correct pronunciation.
And but she's a consultant on the show, and I know a lot of authors are consultants on shows and things like that, but I think she's really into it because they really made it almost exactly like the books. And I know she made a guest appearance in the 2nd season, um also, just like, and she had a speaking part too, with just a couple lines, but it was kind of hilarious.
Was she
um
any good
she
at
was
acting?
actually. She was not bad. I think she was supposed to play like a conceited aristocratic sort or something, because it was when they were visiting France, and and so she kind of fit the part for that, at least in her look. Um, but they kind of started to veer off 4th season, I think, and then they started combining books. So like parts of the 4th and 5th book were in a season, and like now that they're in the 6th season, I was just starting to watch it again. I think they like included a couple things from a couple other books that are ahead and like mixed them in
Hmm.
together. So I'm not sure why they veered off that way and made some of those choices, but it's still really good. And like I said, I stopped at the 6th book, so I'm not sure what they're including anymore. But
I see, I always wonder that too, like, is it because surely it can't be budget because isn't it done by HBO, that show?
Stars has that one.
Stars. Oh yeah, they have a budget.
Hmm.
They definitely have to. But
And
like,
that's their moneymaker too. That show is.
well, yeah, and I think about like, oh, are they thinking about how long they may have the cast? Because cast members get older, like I don't know. It seems like if I had someone, especially the author, helping me write all that stuff, and it is hit after hit after hit, I'd
Mhm.
be milking the heck out of that to make some dollars.
Well, the thing that's interesting about Outlander is that, um, in each book, you get the actors are getting older. So each season, it's only been 6 years. Okay, so the actors are not really getting actively older. I mean, when they started, they're in their 20s. Now they're in their 30s or something like that. And after the second, was it the second book? I think the second book. There's a 20-year gap, um, where, um, I don't know if you know the characters Jamie and Claire. So Claire had to go
Those are
back.
the main characters, right?
Yeah, right. So what happened was she was in the 1940s, and she found these stones and in Scotland, and she went through and back in time to the 1700s, like 1740s, and she was already married and things like that, and she met Jamie, and there was just this um, awesome love story and things like that. They got married, and she was pregnant with his child, and the Battle of Culloden happened, and he couldn't protect her, and he told her to go. That they needed to go back, so she went back through the stones, and she couldn't figure out a way to come back again.
Was she still
And
pregnant while she
yeah,
went through the storm? What the
yes,
heck?
yeah.
Woo.
So she had his baby in the future, and so and then she went back to her husband, and he was just like, obviously, well, what the hell are you pregnant, and things like that, and but he raised the child as his own and things like that. But so there was 20 years where she's living in the future again, so it goes to like the 1960s or something like that, and she see, she thought he was dead all this time. She thought he was killed at the battle. That's why she didn't try to come back. And then she found out that he was alive. So she came back and then had left her daughter. Her husband had died at that point. And then the daughter comes with this other guy that she eventually marries, and they come through the stones too. So there's a 20-year gap in between. So they're getting older. And now that they're in subsequent seasons, like their daughter, who's like in her 20s and has this husband, they have kids, so they're grandparents now and things, and they have like a whole colony in the United States, like a
What on earth? Okay, there
so
is
they're
a
like
lot.
they're aging these characters in just a short period of time too, and that's kind of weird because you just can't imagine them not, being younger. But they do it pretty well, but it's still kind of like,
Huh. Jeez, that is a time loop for sure. Okay.
yeah,
Ooh, that's a lot to unpack right there.
yeah. Sorry, spoiler alert, guys, for Outlander.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, if it's only the beginning you're talking about, I wouldn't like spoil season 6 or something like that.
No, I didn't do that.
That's
You should have watched all these seasons or read all these books already. I do recommend
see,
reading the
that's
books though. They're really good.
I get deterred sometimes with how large books are. Like even Lord of the Rings, that one was I thought was fairly long. The Hobbit, I read The Hobbit, that one felt like forever.
They
Didn't care
are.
for The Hobbit. The
I think if they took
movies,
out, I
so
think if they took
long.
out all those songs, like the elves and the dwarves and things are singing all the time. Every time they're traveling, they're always traveling. They're like, we got to sing 15 songs, or we. And he created all the songs too. Like they're all like original things. I'm like, what kind of things are you smoking so that you could create all
I
this content?
This may be a little bit upsetting to people, but I could live without Lord of the Rings. I know, sue me. I get it. I know. I'd I'd rather read Star Wars and watch that any day
See, I'm not a Star
than
Wars fan, so we're just gonna poo-poo on everybody here.
I don't really read the books, but I read one, but I'd rather watch the movies for sure.
I read both. Well, I read all the Lord of the Rings, and I read them because I like the movies so much. Again, watching the movies and then reading the books. I did read The Hobbit when I was younger before I watched the movie, though. My dad was pretty obsessed with all those, and he's like, and I thought the Hobbits were cute. It was nice. But again, it's one of those things. I don't know if it's like the time period that these authors wrote in. Like I remember like early 1800s and things like that. Like I hate Nathaniel Hawthorne because all he does is
Mm.
talk about well, it's like nature, but like the scenery all the time. He'll just like stop people talking and it's like, oh, by the way, you know, let's talk for about 5 or 6 pages about how green this tree is and what it smells like and things like that. And
Mhm.
Tolkien is a little bit like that sometimes too, where he'll just like go off on a tangent and it's like, where did this even go? I mean, I guess if you're
Yeah,
going to look at it symbolically and things like that, that it's probably good for the story, but you're going to lose a lot of people that way.
I agree with you. And I mean, I think too, like, I try to remember when these books or like things were written because it was a different time. Like,
Yeah, this
especially
was
like Nathaniel
20s or
Hawthorne, like, you didn't have a TV. You might have had a radio, but that doesn't mean you get to just sit there and listen to it all day.
mhm.
So you might have to like find other constructive ways.
Yeah, I think those books were written in the 20s or 30s or something like that. Um, there's if you want to learn a little more about Tolkien, there's a good like bioepic movie. I think it's called Tolkien, with Nicholas Hoult playing him, and where he's in World War I, and it talks about all his PTSD and things like that, and about all the things when he was over at Cambridge, and when all the things that he imagined that soon became Lord of the Rings. And it's really fascinating. I know there's been a lot of things written about him too, but again, I tend to watch movies.
Yeah, I remember watching Lord of the Rings for the first time, and I watched it at a friend's house because she was flabbergasted that I had not seen it yet. And I was like, well, they're like 3 hours long. They're all so long. Except I will say, I think it's the last movie. I'm gonna spoil something if you have not watched it, read. I don't even know if it's similar in the book. I'm going to spoil something for you. It's like at the end of the series, and so the bad guy shows up for the last battle, and he's like, no man can kill me. And so this soldier's like, haha, whips off the helmet. I am no man, I'm a woman, and just shanks the guy. And I was like, that was the best part. Haha, way to make him eat crow. So I did like that.
I honestly don't remember if that was in it or not, because like the books are so long and the movies are so long, you just lose all kinds of details. I do know that they followed a lot of it, at least in the first book, The Fellowship of the Ring, fairly well. They even had some of those songs in there that they sang in the movie. But even though the movies were like 3 hours long, they didn't include so many characters that were in the books.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters.
I mean, there was even more people, and there's whole scenes that they just didn't put in there. Can you imagine how long it would have been if they included all that too? Plus the other 50 songs that they didn't include.
And they already made I think it's the third Lord of the Rings where they have like a part 1 and part 2. They really needed like a part 4 or 5 for like each book, really, because they're so long. And it's so wordy and so detaily, which if you like those types of books, it's for you. But I can imagine my own things and like stuff, so I don't need 100% visual. Like, let me kind of envision what they look like for myself. So that part,
I guess I lack imagination. Sometimes I don't know.
I mean, would I watch it again? I don't know, but I liked watching it for the first time. So that part I always think is interesting.
I'll tell you something. When the movie came out, I thought it was so beautifully done. I'm not even going to tell you how many times I watched it. Do you want to guess how many times I watched it at the theater? Not even just like watching it.
Okay, well, how about you tell me what the movie is first? Is it Titanic?
The Fellowship of the Ring, the first one.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh. I'm saying at least 24 times.
At the theater?
Yeah.
No, I watched it 8 times at the theater, and that's probably the most I've ever watched something. I don't even know why I watched that much. I was just obsessed with it at the time. I don't know why. I mean, it was, I don't know, it was just a fantastically done movie, like just, visually and things like that.
That's great. I mean, I will say, I think that's like the best time to see a movie is in the movie theater because it has that huge screen. It has a surround sound, like just has everything. That's like, I remember going to see Harry Potter in the theaters. Not the first one, but it was towards the end because I was still quite young when it came out. Which, love Harry Potter. Love, love, love.
I'm trying to remember if I read the book. No, I think that was another one where I watched the movie and then I wanted to read the book. There has to be. There's ones. I'll tell you ones. I read the book first, but continue.
I was just going to say, I did watch all of the Harry Potter films before reading the books. And for those of you that may have forgotten or not forgotten, no, I have not made it past book 5 still.
Why?
I know. I have it on audiobook. I'm waiting for it to come in so that way I'm going to sit down and just listen to it. I reached a really dull spot in Order of the Phoenix when Dumbridge comes in, and I'm just like, I think I tried to read too many at the same time, and I burnt myself out.
And you don't really know that Dumbledore dies. I remember when I think he dies in the 6th book. But when the sixth book came out, we had a Harry Potter party here at the library, and that was one of the prizes was the sixth book because it had just come out, and there was a meme. Well, not a meme. It was like a little video. It was like a precursor to TikTok kind of thing. Just one of those little short video things where this guy just comes out and slows. He just yells out the window. The people going to get the book. He's like, "Dumbledore dies."
Oh, oh, that's so
And they're all
mean.
like waiting in
Aw.
line to get the book at this bookstore and stuff like that. And he just like shouts it out and
That's
things.
harsh.
You need to finish it though. It's
I would like to.
as much as I like the movies for Harry Potter, which I adore them, I love them. I do think the books are much better than the movies.
Yeah, I will say, so for the books that I have read, book 1 and 2, I thought were pretty spot on for what they had put in the movie versus what was in the books.
I think they
Which
skipped a
granted,
couple
they were a
little
lot
things, but
smaller compared to like the other books farther along. But then you get to Prisoner of Azkaban, and that's when they started I started noticing bigger changes, like
mhm.
bits and pieces, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that by watching the movie. I wish I would have known that. It would have made more sense now to watch the movie.
Mhm.
And book 4 was just totally different. I was like, what is happening? Goblet of Fire is not at all what I thought it was.
No.
It was just, I definitely encourage people that have not read the books to at least, if you don't want to start at the beginning, fine, but start at book 3 or 4, just because you'll definitely be able to tell differences. Because I don't want to give too many spoilers, but like they find the kitchen in Hogwarts. There's like a whole bunch of little side pieces
Mhm.
that you're really missing. You're
Yeah, and I
gonna,
think and I feel like they should have put some of those in the movie too, because when they added some things in the later movies, you're just like, how did if you hadn't read the book, you're just like, how would you come to this?
yeah,
But if you had read the books, you would have gotten it because they missed little things. I think they did something with the Marauders map later on that they did something more detailed in the book, and then they explained it in the movie. Well, they just came to a conclusion in the movie, and you're just like, I don't
yeah,
know.
like Spew. I didn't know about Spew for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you that read it know what I'm talking about. Like there's just a lot of details. And I love Harry Potter so much that I mean, I watch Harry Potter quite often. Like growing up, they'd be like Harry Potter movie weekend, and that's literally all we would watch all weekend growing up.
By the
That
way,
was the jam.
if you had gotten our lip box last summer, we did a Harry Potter lip box. You also could be a member of Spew.
Honestly, that was a really fun lip box. I'm glad we were able to do that. I really liked the Harry Potter movies. That one, no surprise. Another series that I really liked, I was actually quite disappointed with the movie, was Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. That was the first one. I read the whole series, but they only came out, I believe it's with 2.
Mhm.
So the first one, Lightning Thief, and then the Sea of Monsters, which they
That
had
one
like
was
all the,
horrible. Sea of
it
Monsters in
was not even
comparison to the book.
close. Not even close. I'm like, there was some stuff that happened that I'm like, that's not how it went down.
Like
Like
none of
so
it.
and so.
Like it's almost like they made a completely different thing. It was not at all very well. There was a couple
I
things close, but
I want to know the
no.
reasoning though, because when you see it, like I read the whole series and I love the series. I read it before they came out with the movies, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's coming out with a movie. It's gonna be great. And the
Yeah.
first one was like so, and it wasn't horrible. And I was like, oh great, they'll do a second one. They'll get a bigger budget, so it'll be more on
Yeah.
point. And then it was just all over the place.
I
And I'm
can
like, what
see
the heck is this?
yeah, I can see why they didn't continue making the books. However, I kind of wish they would because but maybe with different writers or different director or something, because I do think that the pick for Percy Jackson, Logan Lerman, I thought that was a good pick.
I do too.
I thought he did really well, and that's kind of who I would have envisioned for Percy Jackson, anyways. But so, but when they ruined the second movie, I was kind of disappointed because I was like, the third one would have been awesome.
Yeah, I just that's when things start hitting the fan in the half camp half blood. For those of you that have read it and know what I'm
Mhm.
talking about, it just it was a good series.
Did you
And
read the
then
ones too where they hook everything up with Camp Jupiter
no, I did
and the
not.
other and those other demigod series ones? Because
No,
they do
that came
because they
after.
do they do crossovers with that too. So like Percy Jackson, like Annabeth and Grover
Grover.
are in those books too, like as side characters, but they're it's almost because they're spin-offs from Percy Jackson. So
Mm-hmm.
they do like the Camp Jupiter series with basically it's the same people, but they're Roman gods instead of Greek gods kind of thing.
Mm.
But they
I
work
always
at
liked
the
Greek
same time.
mythology though.
But they worked
Was like
together and
biased.
things like that. But there was a whole thing where like Percy lost his memory and he went and got to the Jupiter camp and they found him and Annabeth was trying to look for him and it was just all fantastic. But and there was like a big clash between all the gods, like a big final war.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, it was awesome. But I was like, oh, that would have been an epic movie. I wish they could just figure out a way to do it better.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is like now that they've done it, I doubt they'll remake it anytime soon.
Mm-mm. And he's aged out, I think, too. For that, they'd have to find
I don't know.
somebody else.
Some of the actors and actresses, they have their little skin routines and they just
I don't
are
know. He
always
still looks young.
fabulous. I'm like,
Could
okay,
probably
maybe
still
if
do
I
it.
could afford $100 bottle of cream, it'd be fine.
Well, they always put people in. They're like in their 30s, or like let's put them in high school or something like that.
Yeah, it's
So
like
I guess he still has a chance. I think he only got about 5 more years though, dude.
I always get so frustrated with that because I think it misconstrues how you should be as a teenager because teens they already have it rough. They're going through puberty. They're already trying to be, like the cool celebrities that are way older than them, fully developed, all that jazz. And then they get like, oh, this is what you should look like. And it's just so misconstruing. And it just really, I think, mends or bends the mind, if you will, into something that's unrealistic for their age groups.
Something. Oh, speaking of, since we're done, Percy Jackson. I think well, in the movie, as much as I like Logan Lerman as the choice for it, he was too old because they had him being like a high school student. And in the books, I think he's like 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah, he's really young in the
Or
book.
11 even. I don't remember it, but he was like middle school age or something. And they just decided, oh no, you're going to be in high school instead.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, let's see here. Oh, I was hoping I could find a quick answer. Yes, he's 12 to 6 in the book.
12 to 6, what?
12 to 16, sorry, not 6.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay, yeah, do the whole thing, yeah. I was going to say, I thought he
Yeah.
was like 11 or 12 when he started. And because they were talking about things in the book where, like I remember when my son was that age and I was just like, yeah, I totally can envision this. And it was not like high school problems either. It's like silly little
Yeah.
things where you're still in that age between like you're still a little kid and you're going to be an adult.
Yeah. So I always think about stuff like that because it used to be, like they still do it a lot. It kind of reminds me of like Twilight,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where they like segue into that one.
Yes.
I definitely had a phase in Twilight, like most young people during that time. Are you team Edward or team Jacob?
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely team Edward, but now I'm like, I could get down with Jacob. Jacob could be pretty
I
cool.
kind
I
of
wouldn't be
agree.
cold all the time
I kind of
because
agree.
he's so hot.
I see. This was one where I read the book first. I did read the book before the movie came out because somebody recommended it to me, and that was one of those things. Maybe this is why I watched the movie first all the time. But who I envisioned Edward to be was not Robert Pattinson. Kind of thing. I was kind of disappointed. Also, Bella, she was a little annoying in the book, but not as annoying as in the movie. Again, I hate Kristen Stewart. I hate everything she's in. So she like ruined it all for me. And I thought Jacob was fine.
Yeah. I will say though, I didn't really mind her in that role until like New Moon, where she goes through her like little depression phase where it's like time is slowing. And so then she's just all like there kind of dying in her bedroom window, feeling sorry for herself because a vampire is trying to tell her, no, you're gonna die, so I can't be with you, and all that that teen drama.
She was
And
super angsty the entire time, but I think that's just her too. She's
yes.
always like, even in the first one, she's always like just grabbing herself, like,
Well,
oh
she's like,
no.
ooh, ooh, and then you have to do the what? Like she does that like weird like
So
kind of like
breathy.
yeah, it's super bizarre. And I remember like I I wish I could remember where I saw this clip, but it was a clip where what's Robert Pattinson, that's his name. He was talking about how he almost got fired from the movie because he sighed so much and like wasn't frowning. And he's like, you need to smile more. And he's like, he highlighted every part in the book where Edward did not smile. And he was just like being really emo. And I was like, yes, follow that book play.
Yeah, yeah.
I really kind of want to reread Twilight because I just read it so fast that I kind of want to see what the differences are because the
Did you
last book was ruined for me.
did you
I
read
was reading,
the version where it was from
oh,
Edward's
his
point of
point of
view?
view.
Yeah.
I ordered it and then I was like trying to read it and I was like, I prefer it the other way.
I only read part of it. I mean, because I liked his point of view. I actually liked his point of view a little better than Bella's point of view, just because I think she annoyed me so much. But it was so much the same because obviously they're in the same like parts of the
Yeah.
story and stuff, and so it was a lot of the same stuff. So I was just like, but I don't know. It might have been more
If
interesting from
that's it,
his point of view,
would it,
or even
if you
Jacob's
would,
point of view would have been cool. Well, it wasn't in the book that they had different chapters that were different people's point of view. Was that one of the Twilight ones, or is that a different book I'm thinking about? Because I remember like each chapter was somebody's point of view, and then they talked about it that way. Maybe that was House of Night. I don't know.
I'm
So
not sure. It's been a while. If they would have came out with Edward's point of view when like it was really poppin', I would have probably would have read it in a heartbeat because I really liked it. Except the last movie, trash, complete trash. And then they were leading people on thinking that they were going to make like another movie that didn't pertain to the books and it was going to be where the books left off, even
yeah,
though the last movie wasn't even close to the last book. Just garbage. It was just, I don't, so I don't technically mind per se when filmmakers, whoever's sponsoring, I guess, producing the movie needs to make changes. Like I understand you can't do it
yeah,
verbatim, but when you go so off script, that's when I get wound up and I just think that's so not right.
yeah. I think
It's
she
like,
was a
ugh.
consultant on the movies too, but she must not have had a lot of input or something. I don't know. Also, those renegade vampires, like in the first one, the first book and the first movies and things like that, crazy.
Yes.
Not at all what they were like in the book. They were just insane people. Like
Yeah,
I don't
they're
know,
just
just not how I would have imagined them to be. I think a lot of it was casting choices in the movie. Maybe it could have been better if they just had different people in
I
it.
see on TikTok like people be like, we made it to Forks, Washington, and like they go to where parts of the movie was shot, and it just like cracks me up because it literally is raining like all the time there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I could do that. That could be fun.
Oh, I would hate living there. Just being
I would
dreary
do
all the
great there.
time.
I'm too pale, so that'd be my place.
That's your place to be.
Yeah, I'll get to wear a sweatshirt,
You sparkle.
pants. Yes. When I put my glitter on, yeah. When we're
Um,
doing crafts at the library and we just have glitter everywhere.
do you have you ever read fan fiction at all or
I've read
anything?
like some things, like I've seen clips of people's stuff because they're like, this book was crap. I'm making it what I want. And then people on the internet go crazy for it.
When I was in high school, I started reading fan fiction for. I think the first thing I ever read was like for X-Files or something like that because I was obsessed with that show. But the reason I bring it up is because Twilight was actually fan fiction before it got published into a book, and it was like
Really?
on the interwebs and things like that, and then it just got cultivated into that. But But actually bringing up fan fiction is kind of interesting because those are like if there is a movie that or a TV show that you've seen and you really want like the story to go on, or you want like different aspects that you don't like, you didn't agree with something that was in the show or something like that, or you wanted to expand upon something, people would write about it and just do like little stories about it. So I mean, it's creating books that aren't actually books from
Yes,
movies, and I like that movies can inspire that kind of creativity in people. I mean,
absolutely.
because I read those things all the time just for different shows and stuff like that. Because there's definitely parts of shows where I'm just like, oh, I wish that could have went on, or they would explain that better. And then somebody wrote about it, and I'm like, oh, I can live out, I can, I can envision it now, and so it's kind of cool. So
Yeah,
everybody read some
I
fan
agree with
fiction.
you.
Fanfiction.net, best place to
There's
be.
some good stuff. Some of it I'm like, yes, and others I'm like, okay, sure.
They have literally every show and or movie around. Actually, some people even do fan fictions on books. So I know there's like a whole like Percy, like I read Percy Jackson ones before, ones that were based off
Oh,
movies, and also ones that were just continuations of the books. So they wrote their own point of views from the book and things too, and that's kind of cool. So they have like different ones, and then they have crossovers, and it's just it's crazy how much stuff there is. And it's pretty
yeah,
much anything you can think of.
yeah, there is a crap ton of stuff online for sure. One last book I would like to mention is The Maze Runner. I actually, my sister read it and she was like, "You need to read this." And I know which one I didn't talk about too. Oh well.
We can say it
We-
after we have the time.
Okay.
This one will be shorter
um,
because I don't remember everything about it, but
yeah, because I only read it because my sister was like, "You need to read this," and so we went and saw the movie. And I definitely like, I don't know, compared to other movies and books that I've read, it wasn't quite my favorite, but there weren't stuff was different, like
it
right
was.
off the get-go. And there was a lot of like missing pieces. So if you didn't read the book, then you might not understand the movie in some aspects. Or like if you didn't see the movie, you'd kind of be like, oh, why'd they put that there? They don't even mention that in the book. And then they
Yeah,
made like a whole other, I think, 2 or 3 movies after that for that
yeah, they did.
series.
Well, I think they did it for each book,
I think it's
because
only the trilogy is what I remember.
right. So the Maze Runner one, yeah, I remember them not following the book very, very well. The book was definitely better, I thought, and I did read the book before the movies. Um, and I just want to tell you too that this is a good book for reluctant readers because my son, he hates to read, and which I find funny because I'm a librarian, and he just doesn't enjoy it. And he had to read something for school, and I suggested this one for him, and I said, I think you'll like this one, I really do. And he actually did like it. So if you have a 12 to 13-year-old boy, this one's for you. And I don't think he saw the movie, but so that's also kind of a rare thing too, because he also tends to want to watch the movie. And the reason he says he doesn't ever want to read the book for things because he's like, I don't want to have to think about it. He goes, if I watch it, it's just there and I don't have to think. And I'm just like, wow.
No, you're missing out.
I'm
There's so
like,
many
boy,
like good things about reading.
I keep telling him about books and stuff like that. I'm like, listen, it's like books are better because you can envision it the way you want to. And
Mhm.
I said I said almost all these books become movies anyways. So I'm like, it's just a movie in your brain. You're making the movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
And but I don't know. I tend not to do what I preach because I do watch the movies more often than I read the book. Because I was going through a list of like these trying to figure out like what books were made into movies and which ones we had read and things like that. And I read a lot of them, but I didn't remember them because I read them when I was younger and things like that. And but there's so many that I've just watched and not read the book. But
Yeah.
but Maze Runner, yeah, I think that when they did the other books too, I don't think they followed as well either. Scorch Trials, and I don't remember what the third one was.
Oh, I don't remember the third one, but Scorch Trials. I didn't read the second book, but my sister said that it was different than the movie,
It
which
definitely
I kind
was.
of figured it was, yeah. Which it kind of seems like those dystopian books with like younger audiences always seem to go off the book, because the one that I was going to mention is The Hunger Games, because I have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right out the gate, Little Miss,
Katniss.
oh, yes, thank you. Like, what is her name? I just watched it like a few weeks ago. Miss Katniss Everdeen did not get her little Mockingjay pin via that little lady in the flea market.
Mhm.
She ended up getting it from one of the richer girls in her like District 12, because like her dad apparently ran like the district, and she ended up getting that pin from her. There's so many details, like it's so bad. When I watch the movies, they're so different, and it's so frustrating because like you easily could have just
Mhm.
fixed that. Instead, no, they put it in the marketplace, so then that way people can barge in, and so she takes it and then she runs, and
I
there's
kind
just a
of
lot of details.
I kind of wonder if they change the story so much, especially for these dystopian ones like Hunger Games, Maze Runner, Divergent. Um,
Mm,
they've all changed stuff, a lot of stuff in the books. And I kind of wonder if it's because they think that the stuff that's in the books is too harsh of a reality to put out on screen for people. Like, because when you go and watch a movie, you don't really want to be depressed about it, kind of stuff. You want to be kind of like excited and, and things like that. And though the books are exciting, I think they have a lot of violence in it that um, people probably wouldn't care for. I mean, I like
See,
it, but I mean,
my argument to you would be, hearing that, would be video games.
mhm,
I love video games.
too.
I think they're great hand-eye coordination. I think they're just fun in general. But I think people get so concerned about censoring. But then, like parents, I've seen kids check out horror movies. Like I've seen them go to movie theaters, like
Mhm.
the goriest of gore, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like I would
Yeah.
never go watch that.
I mean, I don't know why they cut stuff like that, but I have noticed that they do tone it down from the book and in those aspects. And I kind of wonder if it's for censorship purposes or something. I'm not sure. Because sometimes I thought it's not like gratuitous violence or anything like that, but it adds to the story. It's just,
Yeah,
I don't
adds
know.
to the buildup.
Maybe it's because they're all like young adult ones too. But like I said, but yeah, like it's so they'll tone it down for younger kids and for young adult movie things. But video games, they'll just a mature audience thing and everybody plays it or everybody looks at stuff online. I don't know. People don't know how to like they'll censor some things and not others. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So it's kind of like a half censor. Come on
Yeah,
now.
I don't know what they think they're doing. Just let it be the original. It's so much
I'm
better.
always grateful my parents always fostered an open dialogue. So like if I
Hmm.
did see something, I knew I could approach them and ask them so I could
Yeah,
understand, you know, and learn through that way. Because if not, if you don't have that person you can go to and ask questions, you're just kind of, I don't want to say setting yourself up for failure, but losing your ability to kind of comprehend what's going on around you for things you may not understand, or you think you understand, but you haven't experienced it before, so you're oblivious.
sure, sure.
So much stuff. That'll be for another podcast.
Yes. Oh my goodness. One thing I'm gonna bring up. I don't know. I don't think you've ever read Anne of Green Gables, have you?
No,
Okay. So
I'm not too big into classics. My book group ladies know this. They have been pushing me this past year with our classic reads, which some I've enjoyed, others we've all not enjoyed. Don't read Vanity Fair. If you're wondering, don't
oh
do
gosh.
it.
Yeah, that's another one that wins the movie. Did you see the movie for that one?
No. And
Okay.
I definitely don't want to watch it based off what I've read for
I
the
feel like
book.
that'd be one of the ones that was better than the
It was the same thing that you had mentioned with Nathaniel Hawthorne, where
yeah.
the William Thackeray Thatcher is just randomly, it's a book of anti-heroes, and they're just all terrible people. And then all of a sudden he'll just go on his own tangent,
Hmm.
totally unrelated to what's going on in the story. It's super bizarre,
Yeah, I
just
think there was
weird.
a whole time period where people were just like stream of consciousness. Let's just
Let's just let
talk
people
about
know.
anything and everything, and it makes zero sense. But anyways, getting back to Anne of Green Gables, the reason I bring this one up is that I did read it and watch the things, and I watched different versions of the things because they tend to, with classics, remake it endlessly, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do that with like Jane Austen stuff. Like there's billions of movies and things that take of the book. Charles Dickens stuff, same way. But for this one also had like side stories, offshoots, like Emily and New Moon, Anne of Avonlea, like the series Avonlea, which I used to watch as a kid on Disney and love them. And Anne of Green Gables, loved the one from Masterpiece. I think it was like PBS or something like that. I think that version is the best because it follows the books more closely. However, it did leave some things out, as it does. But now there's a new one on Netflix called Anne with E. And that one I really don't think follows
Doesn't
the
sound
books.
familiar.
That one doesn't follow the books as much. However, it brings a different aspect of the book that people don't tend to put in the shows, and because it's grittier. So back in like Ellen Montgomery's time, they don't really talk about, delicate things like being on your period or, thoughts about boys or things like that, sex and stuff like that. Where obviously at
Very
that point in
taboo.
time, people are addressing those issues. And though she didn't write about those issues in the book, which is why the first one follows it so well, Anne with the E kind of takes it as not so much following the book, but following how it would have been if that happened in that actual time, kind of thing. And so she does talk about like, oh my gosh, she got her period and things like that, and then different things that they would do that they would not have addressed in the book because it was written in the early 1900s.
Interesting.
So
see, that's the one thing
that's
where
cool.
they don't write it because it's like, ooh, hush hush. Okay, it's a way of life. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you don't have to announce it, I guess, and protest down to the street, but
Right.
it's just silly. Stop being silly gooses.
So
Educate.
So I guess if you're going to make remakes of things like that from books, do it from different perspective. I find that more interesting.
I think that's really cool that you've seen multiple versions of it, and I would definitely prefer, it sounds like, Anna with an E.
Actually, I don't prefer it that way. I mean, I like the
Oh
aspect of it,
no.
but again, it's casting choices. So like I like the cast of the first one better. Now, if they dealt with those issues, it would have been absolutely fantastic. But I don't know. I get too bogged down on like the actors and how they portray things rather than the story sometimes.
Oh, see, I focus on the stories. I don't necessarily per se, I'm so like, oh, they have such and such with an actor. They don't know who I am. I don't care. I mean, I think the only time I've cared recently in a movie was I watched Eternals with my family, and my sister and I, we were watching the end part where, of course, they do the credits, and then it's a Marvel movie, so they have like a little bit at the end, and they had Harry Styles come in. We're like, oh my god, it's Harry Styles, and then we're like, ah, and then that's probably like the only time I think I've been like actively like, yes,
Fangirling it,
I
yes.
cannot wait. Yes, I remember him in his 1D days. Harry Styles, if you want to hang out, I'm here, okay?
Yep. Harry and his third nipple.
Honestly.
Ever since you told me
crazy.
that, I cannot unthink that.
It was in one of his articles that I had read, and it was like one of his weird fun facts that he has a third nipple, and I was like, what the heck? I mean, you can't use it for its intended purpose. It's just kind of there. It's super bizarre. Never heard about it. Apparently, it's not as weird as I think it is.
I guess not.
Yeah.
A lot of people have that.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, learn something new every day.
Well, I'm glad that you had me on this particular podcast because this is like right up my alley, books versus the movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
it worked out because I was like, man, this is kind of something weird to like talk about by yourself. So.
No, I think you need somebody to like bounce stuff off of on this one because you get so much more riled up and you're like, yeah, agree.
Yeah. Well, and that and the word detective, I don't even, if it was by myself, I would just be like, okay, here's the word. Let's go to the end and figure it out. So
Nice.
something before we do the word detective, I would like to make a little plug for my Genoa morning book group. We actually started this year. Yes. We do it once out of the times that we meet throughout the year, a book to movie. So we read the book and then watch the movie. That way we can discuss to see if there's similarities, differences. So for April, we are meeting the third Thursday of the month, and we're reading Just Mercy that has Michael B. Jordan in it, which I'm very excited for. So we'll read the book and then we're going to watch the movie too. So we'll see if they're similar, different. I'm assuming different, but because that's usually how it goes, but maybe it won't be so bad.
How's the book going so far?
Well, we haven't met.
No, I mean
from
like
our-
just reading it.
I haven't actually read it yet because
Last
I'm finishing
minutes.
my other book for it. So I started after I finish for this month, but I haven't started it for April.
That's okay. I haven't started mine either. Oh, well, actually mine's a movie too. Ours for April is nope, it was for March. I'm sorry, we're doing this in March, so I'm very confused. But they book is Killers of the Flower Moon. And
oh, that's
so,
oh yeah,
and
it
they
is.
just made that into a movie. I don't think it's been released yet. As Leonardo DiCaprio and some other people, I forget.
Oh boy, that's going to be probably a good one.
And as much as I dislike him, I think I'm going to see it.
Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah.
Jack? You don't like Jack?
That might have been the only thing I liked him in. Titanic. I don't know. But he was in Great Gatsby, and
Yeah.
but also McGuire was in that too, and I just like him. So it was
I
bad
just didn't
altogether.
really care for it.
But Great Gatsby was just a weird book altogether. I know that's like some people's
Yes.
most favorite book. I mean,
I concur.
it's a great teaching experience because it's got so much symbolism and things like that in it. However, I was just not my cup of tea.
Yes, I would concur.
The book or the movie. So that was a lose-lose. Then that rarely happens to me. Usually I like one or the other.
Yeah. I also did not like To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't want to say I didn't like it. I think for its time, it was a very important book to have. And I learned a lot from it. But then we also watched the movie, which cinematography when it was made is quite different than it is now. So I always think about like things that they couldn't keep because they couldn't afford to like keep it in the film reel, or like if you needed to add special effects, like you had to make everything by hand. So I definitely preferred I don't know.
They never
'cause I
made
was
a remake of that, did they? I mean, I know they made like that one from the 50s or something with Cary Grant in it, I think, right? And
yes,
and yeah, they should redo that. I bet you they
I
could
would
put so
like to
much more
see
into
it.
it.
Yeah,
Because it was an interesting book. But maybe they could portray it better. I don't know.
yeah, I would like to see that for sure.
Something I'll mention that I'm hoping is coming soon, because this is one of Sierra and I's favorite book series, is the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. And that's another dystopian one where it's like out in space and they're like, it has a little Hunger Games-esque kind of stuff in it too. And I think HBO or somebody's supposed to pick it up and make a TV series out of it. And we're just so geeked out about it, but we haven't heard anything of it yet.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's
Well,
another thing.
hopefully for you guys, it'll be done.
Mhm.
That'd be nice. I think we've gone over quite a few book
Yeah.
to movies.
There's so many, but yeah,
We
only
could
have so
do
much
more,
time.
but that would take
So much time.
Yeah, way too much time. So I say let's head on to Word Detective
Woohoo!
and see what we got here for April. So I am going to share my screen and show the people what is going on. Yes, I wish to share my entire.
Share's hard.
It had it on the wrong tab here. Okay, here we go. Oh man, oh good, okay. So for April is Abdarian.
Abdarian.
Abdarian. Oh boy. Okay.
Abdarian.
Abdarian. Like, are you daring me? Is all I can think of by seeing the pronunciation.
Ab. Like, talk about this phonetically. Like, I'm trying to think if like the prefix means anything because there's like above or abnormal or
Yeah.
ab something. So when something's an ab, it's usually the opposite of something or like or I don't know because there's like
And
abstract.
the Aryan part kind of reminds me of like you'd say librarian. So is it like a person? So is it like a person that does not like to dare?
Yeah.
I say let's move on to the first clue here. All right,
Break it
clue
down.
number 1. Uh-oh. Oh man, I have to say it again. Clue number 1. Let's get serious. Abdarian is an adjective used
Adjective.
for the, oh my gosh, thank you. I cannot
I
read
wish it was
today.
objective.
Adjective used for the first time, or at least recorded, in the year 1737, which also happens to be the same year Austria is defeated in, thank you, Nathan, for the pronunciation again, in the Battle of Banja
Luka.
by the Ottoman. Oh man, this is hurting me today. This is painful. Ottomans and Benjamin Franklin created the Philadelphia Police Force, the first city-paid police force. Okay, I'm very confused.
So is it just like that these things happened at the same time, or do these things also have to do with the word? Nathan, what's going on here?
I would like to say it's the first because I'm not quite sure, or unless it's describing something.
These are both like, I don't know. Is it kind of like a vigilante?
I mean, it could be. Shall we venture to the second clue? Because I'm
Sure.
lost for words.
1737, though. It's probably something that's not used anymore. I wonder if it's like somebody's title or something, like
I would
concur. Or something. Oh, look. A jester.
Okay. Clue number 2. All these pictures relate to Abdarian, but how?
What's below the jester? I can't.
I'm going to scroll farther now that I have read. Okay. Because I have a little bit of stuff covering.
Oh no, geography. So what country is this? Is it sideways?
That's not supposed to be Austria.
I don't know.
I wish I had a bigger.
Is that like? Because I'm trying to think of that I'm like. Is that the Middle East or is that like the Balkans or something?
Right. I kind of need it to be zoomed out more because I'm unclear which water.
Yes.
I am looking at.
But it's something that makes you laugh, and like a jester. So maybe it's like a comedian.
Jester cries you infinite amounts.
Infinity?
Yes. So infinite amounts.
Maybe it's like a comedian or a like an old-timey one.
I would go with that just because I have no idea what this map is supposed to signify. Unless it's just a country where jesters are required.
Why the infinity though?
Because it always makes you laugh.
Is this of all time? Like, is this like a lifetime position? Because I feel like that's a person or something, like a title of a person.
Maybe it's something that is more common in smaller countries. So I could get down with the title idea you have, and you have it till you die.
Oh, maybe that's what it means. That's a good point. So you're like the court jester or something.
Yeah, because it's kind of throwing me along with the laughing emoji. Because why, if I was a lord or lady, why would I be laughing?
They laugh all the time. They want to have laughter. They need entertainment. They're so bored.
But see, the jester kind of seems more like that's your role until you die. So I almost feel like it should be a jester.
I feel like some jesters also not only tried to make you laugh, but I think they sang too. You know, like the bard.
But I don't think Nathan would have put a jester if it was actually a jester.
That's nice. He does have a
So I
nice
don't.
little baton, though.
Hmm. I don't know if we have a third clue. Shall I scroll and see?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty close to whatever we think it is, so let's see if it's actually right.
Okay. Oh, there
Oh,
is a
there's
third
another clue.
Okay. Here is your final clue in a sentence. One could tell the comic was having a stellar show by the constant sound of the abjuration crowd.
The Abdarian crowd.
Oh my gosh. Jeez.
Okay, so it's the crowd. What's an adjective? So it's describing.
Is it describing the
It's
crowd?
driving.
To be
It's describing the
constant
crowd.
laughter?
So yeah, I guess they're in constant laughter.
Okay. I think that's a quite solid guess.
Constant laughing.
I'm about to laugh myself.
I'm gonna lose
off
this.
the
I'm gonna use
podcast
this in a
because I
sentence.
can't say Abdarian.
You said it now. Good job.
Oh my gosh.
You did it.
Thank you, everyone who's watching and listening and dealing with me who cannot pronounce words today.
It's early in the
Oh,
week still.
yes, it really
It's hard.
is.
It's hard to function this early.
I think we have a
I
pretty
think that's
fair
it.
chance.
I
Okay,
think-
here we are.
Thank you for the sentence.
Abdarian. Given to excessive or incessant laughter. 2.
Yeah.
Foolish, absurd, ridiculous, etc. Oh.
Abdarian is toponym. A word
Yeah.
coined from the name of a place. Abdera was an ancient city in Thrace, Greece. I kind of thought it was
Oh.
Greece because I was like, is that the Balkans? It kind of looked like it, but I couldn't tell because it was so
So
zoomed
that's
in.
the country we were looking at then.
Mhm.
Well, I'll be dang. Haha.
Yes. Of course, it's Greek.
Of
Thank you.
course
Those
it's Greek.
clues were great. Thank you.
I think it went quite well. I'll stop my sharing. Well, yay. I'd like to say confetti. Ding, ding, ding. Since I think we solved it, I think that's pretty bang up job.
That was pretty fast too, I think.
Yeah,
Not too much discussing needed.
I think the emojis really helped, like.
Definitely. I would not have figured anything with laughter.
Well, that's why it's just the jester part was kind of, but then the word sentence was like, oh, okay, not jester related.
And breaking up the word was not helpful because it was it was named after a country or like a place. So
yeah, which I would have
helpful.
never known that. Even though I like Greek mythology, doesn't mean I know geography of Greece.
I wonder why they named it after that particular place. I wonder if all the people that lived there were like crazy and just laughed all the time. Maybe they were just mental and they're just like,
let's see. Maybe we can find it on a little quick Google search here.
What was the name of the place? Is Abdare, I think.
Yes.
Or
Abdaria.
Yeah. Is that legit?
What? That can't be right. Let's see here. Well, doesn't help me. Merriam-Webster.
The race will do it. Let me see if I can do it. Abdare.
Well, it keeps telling me that it belongs to Abdaria, which is fine, but it doesn't say why. Unless they just created that word originally in that area. Because even Merriam-Webster dictionary does not help me.
This is funny. You want to know its anagram? Oh no, that's anagram. I was thinking antonym. I was just like, the anagrams are just rearranging the letters. So never mind. That's not as cool. The antonym of is agilastic.
Yeah, it keeps bringing up, at least when I do my Google
here it is.
search, ancestry.
Abdaria. Let's look at Abdaria. Ancient Greece, ancient city in Thrace, in modern Greece. We knew this. It is. Yeah, it's known for the foolishness of its inhabitants. Abdaria is foolish people.
Wow. I wonder how foolish they were.
I don't know. I'm going to see if it tells me more. For the ridiculousness. Figuratively, Cloud Cuckoo Land.
That's
What
funny.
the heck did they do there?
They must have been smoking something.
Dictionary. Yeah, it doesn't really talk about. There we go. A major Greek polis on the coast. Let's see. Talk to me.
Yeah, it's really hard to find something farther than that.
The city that it was a colony placed in previously unsettled Thracian territory, not then a part of Hellas. During the age of Greek colonization, the city that developed from it became a major importance in ancient Greece. After the 4th century, it declined, contracted to its Acropolis, and was abandoned, but was never to be reoccupied except by archaeologists. History. Yeah, cool monies.
Ooh.
It was a wealthy city, the 3rd richest in the league, because it's a prime port. Well, why are they foolish? I need to know.
Why are they foolish?
It was repeatedly sacked. It declined importance. Cicero ridicules the city as a byword for stupidity in his letters to Atticus, writing of a debate in the Senate. Here was Abdera, but I wasn't silent. Nevertheless, the city counted among its citizens philosophers, Democritus, Protagoras, and some other people I don't know. Why are they? But I don't know why people thought they were so stupid. Stupid. I don't know. They just thought they were to be ridiculed. Not sure why.
Huh. Well, I have to tell you, I don't know if I'm going to be using this word. I've used other words in the past, and I'm not sure this is going to be one of them.
It'd be hard.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you go to a comedy club, that could be a really good reason to use it, but
And
I
if you
don't think
did
I'd
say
go
that to
outside them.
somebody, they'd just be like, yes. I don't know. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, I think that was a fun word. I think we did quite well, honestly, because I know Sierra and I in the past, we've tried and we're like, we have no idea what it is, and we just cut our losses.
I think
Weren't
the clues
even
were
close.
especially helpful this time. So
Yes, I agree completely. Well, thank you for coming on. Sincere could not be with us
yeah, I hope
for
she can
this
come back next month.
Yes, yes. And thank you for helping solve the word. We did it.
We did it.
Okay,
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right. Well, with that, I think it's time for us to take our leave so we can go enjoy the nice weather.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, and thank you for joining us for another Harris-Elmore and Genoa Branch Libraries podcast with me and special guest, Jen. And we will see you all next month. Goodbye.
Bye.